I want to scream like you so badly.
Mm-hmm.
What would be my first step?
Jesus. Oh my God. Torture yourself for 25 years? Practice for 25 years.
What's going on? Welcome back to the She's of the Band podcast here on Knotfest. Chaney Crabb from Entheos is in the building. How are you?
I'm great. Now that I'm here, now that we've got this all ironed out, it took forever in traffic. You know how sometimes when you're like trying to get somewhere and all of a sudden everyone's getting in a wreck, traffic takes forever. I was like stuck at a stoplight down the street, but now that I'm here, I'm good.
Did anyone get in a wreck on your way here?
Yeah, actually someone got in a wreck. There were cops speeding by us, and I'm like, of course. Now I have to text Tori and tell her that this is happening too. So after years of trying, a year at least of trying to do this.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, you were one of the first guests on the podcast like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then it was sometime mid last year maybe where you were in Tampa, and I was like, do we try to figure this out in person? And it just didn't work for one reason or another.
As tour goes.
So honestly, I think the universe was just testing our dedication to each other.
And we're very dedicated.
We win.
Yeah. We won.
We passed every test, every obstacle.
Yeah.
It's like we're at the final boss now of the video game.
That's right.
Of the simulation, whatever you want to call it.
Totally.
But yeah, you're in Orlando, and happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
As well. We're filming this on Valentine's Day, and I'm spending it with you, so you're my galentine.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. You're my galentine too. And I was thinking it's kind of funny that I'm doing this on Valentine's Day, and I'm probably, I'm married to someone in my band. So it's like, it's funny that wound up being today, but no better place to spend it at
I was
than
thinking
Florida.
about that. Is Naveen jealous?
That we're spending Valentine's Day together. He is. He's really mad.
I'm sorry.
He's upset. He's setting up his drums, just like, God damn it.
Smashing every drum on the ground. Like the whole drum set's going to be broken. There's going to be no show tonight. Just fury.
That's right.
I
Fury.
made that up. I hope he's okay, though. You get to celebrate
He's okay.
after.
He's not too heartbroken.
Do you do anything cheesy for Valentine's Day?
We don't. We're not really, that's not really our thing, It's never been like, we'll get dinner and do stuff like that. But we're not like, I think we're both just kind of the type of people who like, we give in like words in the way that we treat each other on a daily basis. So Valentine's Day is like, it's cute, but we love each other every day. So
that's the way to be.
Yeah, I think so.
And you didn't give off that vibe of like, we're just going to be so cheesy on Valentine's Day. Like what? You love an espresso martini. Maybe treat yourself to one of those.
I'm going to. Absolutely. Can't wait.
Saw a tiramisu espresso martini the other night.
It was so good. And then there was like a little breadstick cookie of some sort in it. It was very fancy. I loved it. That was on the Valentine's menu at that restaurant. So, but yeah, I do love an espresso martini. I'm on like a tour de espresso martini of the United States.
That's so bougie of you.
Dude, I am a bougie bitch. It's true. I love being bougie. I like going and treating myself to really nice dates before our shows. My husband is very not into being bougie, so I go and I spend money on the down low, and he eats Chipotle. It's a beautiful relationship. It's
balance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's balance, and it makes it more sustainable.
Absolutely, because he's saving money while I'm spending the money. That's sustainability right there.
It's really for your benefit.
Absolutely. I'm not gonna do as well. I'm not gonna perform as well on stage if I don't have a bougie dinner meal before a little Chaney time, cocktail hour.
So that's the justification. It affects your performance fully.
1,000,000%.
Espresso martinis.
Yes.
So is that the secret to you being one of the most amazing metal frontwomen vocalists at the moment right now? Which I'm claiming that. You have not claimed that. I'm claiming it. Just to make sure you look humble.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that. That's very nice of you. Yes, I guess the secret is one espresso martini a day.
Well, I know people are wondering, I'm sure like that must be one of the most common questions you get is like how the hell you do what you do.
Of course,
you get that a lot, right?
Yeah, every day.
So like I know you're self-taught. So let's say in a hypothetical alternate universe, I want to scream like you so badly. Mm-hmm. What would be my first step?
Jesus. Oh my God. Torture yourself for 25 years? Practice for 25 years? Get really obsessed with a very obscure thing. Now, you can go down the rabbit hole of YouTube. So that's all there. You can learn. Melissa Cross was, I think we may have talked about this the last time I was on, but Melissa Cross was a thing when I was a kid. So she was like, once I started wanting to learn about technique, I knew that the Zen of Screaming was there. But for someone now, I would say just go on YouTube and try to like develop, copy people, but then try to develop your own thing. I think that's really the key to being like a good vocalist, is not getting so caught up in what everyone else is doing and how you can sound like what everyone else is doing, but just like develop your own thing and develop confidence. And that's so much a part of doing vocals, you know?
Yeah.
Half the battle is learning how to do it kind of well. But the rest of it, I think, is just being confident in yourself. That's really...
Really for anything, it's a fake it till you make it situation too.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. And I remember, one of the other first guests I had was Melissa Cross. She came on the podcast, which was amazing.
That's incredible.
And I remember she was teaching me how to do the like meow, but then turn the meow into like a fry.
Yeah.
I was meowing in my car for weeks after that episode. And I was like, I think my screaming career has begun and ended right there.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't get past the meow.
Yeah. She's also got like the over the pencil, under the pencil. There's so many Melissa Cross techniques that people may not even know are hers now because, you know, vocals have gone so far from back then. But yeah, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I know you mentioned too, like emulating other vocalists, like to start with before, like as you're learning, who were the vocalists that you really emulated, looked up to, and were listening to for reference?
Randy Blythe. Randy Blythe was the first vocalist that I heard where I'm like, okay, you can sound super brutal and people can also understand what you're saying. And he was also the first vocalist. There's a Lamb of God song called Vigil. That's like it's not like an in-your-face, crazy, raw metal song. And it showed me that you can use screaming in like an emotional way as well, which I'm very fond of. Because I love like, you know, doing tech death vocals and all of that stuff is awesome, but I really like using screaming as an emotional value in music.
Right.
So Randy was really the first person. And then, you know, over the years, it was like Johnny Davey from Job for a Cowboy, amazing. Corpse Grinder, Cannibal Corpse, Jacob Bannon, Converge.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, over the years, I just find, and I'm still doing it to this day, like I'll hear a vocalist doing something that I really enjoy, and I'll try to copy that and then take it and try to make it my own.
Yeah.
Which I like doing that. I like learning everything. I like being a Swiss Army knife of vocals, if you will.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Like you would just have a huge toolkit, essentially.
Yeah, so that when you want to make a certain sound, you can do it, but you don't have to employ all of that in every single song.
Right.
Because like, so Despised Icon, one of my favorite bands of all time, they have two vocalists. So it used to be a thing when I was a kid, people wanted two vocalists, one to do like the breeze and one to do the hardcore vocals.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, I'm never going to be in a band with two vocalists. I'm not letting that happen. I'm going to learn how to do all this shit so that I can be two or three vocalists. And that's kind of like driven me a lot.
That takes a lot of discipline as well to be like the woman of all trades, essentially. Do you think for you, like diversifying is really, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm just thinking here, like what separates the great vocalists, the ones where you're like have such a distinctive sound? Is it that individuality, or like what do you think is the main skill set between who's great and who's just?
I think writing a good song. I don't even think it has anything to do with how you sound a lot of the time. I think that there are many monotonous vocalists out there, or people who aren't even great vocalists. Let's take Jacob Bannon, Converge. He's not like the greatest screamer in the world, but he has conviction and he writes really good songs. And I think that is what separates really good vocalists from, or really good musicians in general, from like the pack. Writing a good song. And I think that people can get very caught up in like the, you know, vocal Olympics aspect of things, and bands become very about one thing. But the thing that sticks with people is if you write a good song.
Yeah. And your songwriting is not to be underestimated as well. I know you had said in another interview how inspired you are by literature. You mentioned Sylvia Plath, which is like,
my favorite.
Let's go.
Yeah, I know. My like, melancholic teenage years have never died. I can't let them go.
I reread The Bell Jar last year.
Me too. I did too. Yes, I did. What a fucking great book.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Harrowing book as well. And so for you, I mean, were you always a writer, or was that something you also had to, while building this Swiss Army knife of vocal techniques, were you also learning how to be a good writer? Because I mean, that's another set of skills you have to master.
Absolutely. So I've always been a writer, but I'm also learning how to be a writer forever. So it's like yes to both things. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer. That was the first thing that I wanted to be. And then singing and doing vocals kind of aligned perfectly with that, and writing poetry and stuff. My parents have held on to notebooks from when I was in 5th and 6th grade. And it's funny because I tend to write about death a lot. And back then I was writing about the same thing. So I haven't really changed. Just my vocabulary has grown more vast, So yeah, I've always loved writing. It's
That's
just,
exciting.
yeah. And I do it constantly. I don't just write when we're writing lyrics or an album. I do it all the time. That's how I don't feel like I'm always the best at like getting the things that I want to say across in speaking, because speaking is so like right now it's happening, and you can't really think things out to the most degree when you're saying things in a conversation.
Right.
So writing to me is how I really can express myself in the best way possible, and that's how I feel the most comfortable doing things.
Yeah, you can really like get the words just right and take your time with it. And I also am very much a writer. Like that was my first joy too. So being fellow writing nerds, do you have a favorite vocabulary word or like a most used word where you're like, man, this one hits every time?
God, what is my favorite vocabulary word? I don't know.
I'm just throwing it back to like 4th grade for us.
Yeah. What's your favorite vocabulary word? Now I'm curious.
I do love the word quintessential.
Quintessential. That's good. How do I fit it in a metal song? Quintessential. That would be so funny. All right, now I'm going to try to do it. Okay. When you hear that on our next record, just know it's because of you.
I'm so sorry.
That's a good word. I like simple words though, as well, because you know what I love is so when you like read an album title, and you know exactly what it means right away. And like the layman can know what it means right away. And I think that that's a beautiful part of language is knowing a lot of big vocabulary words, but also learning how to write them in very simple vocabulary words. And just when someone, our album titles, An End to Everything, Time Will Take Us All. When you read those, they evoke an emotion immediately, I think.
They're very heavy titles. Like you feel the weight of those words right away.
Yeah.
And nobody would miss that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want. And that's what I think that sometimes like in in metal, we get caught up in words like I don't even know, God, let me think of a fucking word off the top. I don't know. But think of like any tech death album title. You don't necessarily know exactly what that means right away. Yeah. But I like something that people can read and relate to immediately.
So you don't want people to have to go on genius.com.
No, I don't.
Decipher the lyrics. Like, no. What the hell does any of this mean?
Yeah. My goal is very much to work against that.
I appreciate that though. And yeah, you're so right. And as somebody, like I went to school for journalism. So for me, simplicity in words was also key. We're like, what do they call it? Word economy.
Yes.
Keeping it as short. And in poetry, it's as important because you only have so many syllables or however many lines. Lyrics too.
Right.
Man, I'm geeking. I need to change the subject.
I am too. What's funny is I wanted to be a journalist as well. I was a co-editor for my high school newspaper. So that was like, it was being a writer, being a journalist, and then, music took over and that kind of was, But I love words.
Yeah.
And I love poetry and I love reading. Have you ever read this book called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows?
No, but I'm intrigued.
I feel like you would really enjoy this. It's a dictionary that is written and it's comprised of words that like we don't have words for in the English language. So the Interior Wilderness. I have a song called The Interior Wilderness and I named it after a dictionary, a word from that dictionary. And it means like, it's like the thoughts it's like when we're stuck inside of ourselves and the thoughts that come about and that, God, I can't explain it right now. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Even a mental picture
of
like that saying.
Mhm.
Like I imagine just chaos in your mind and you're like lost in the wilderness.
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
that the vibe?
Or sonder. Have you heard this word used?
Let's go.
So sonder is like the experience of that we each only get to live our own life, but we experience other people, their lives in passing, and we will never get to experience that aspect of the world. We're very much stuck in this like one body. So it's a bunch of really beautiful explanations or words for explanations that we haven't come up with in the English language yet. And I think you'd really, really dig it.
I'm so enthralled. I want to sit here and just go through all of them on this podcast right now. Like totally change, like divert.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's so interesting because it does evoke probably thoughts we may not have thought of before because they're words that we don't have.
Exactly.
Like totally new concepts that,
But they all hit. It's all of these emotional things that I feel on a daily basis. And when I read that for the first time, and now I've read it a few times, it's like, oh my God, this explains all of these things that I feel in a word and in ways that I hadn't been able to explain them before. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah. And this really makes me think too, like I'm sure a huge part of your toolkit as a writer as well is the ability to have this kind of introspection or to have language for the way that you feel or even just understanding what it is you feel. Because even like An End to Everything is talking about the loss of a friend and grief and like some pretty dark themes on there that you were, from what I understand, processing as you were writing it.
Yeah.
So how do your like processes in terms of taking care of your mental health or taking care of yourself and doing that reflection go hand in hand with your songwriting process? Because it's kind of like you're investing in yourself and in your work at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, for me, writing is a part of my mental health. Like that's, like I said, it's how I get things out. That's how I say what I want to say. That's catharsis for me. Yeah. And there are so many things like my friend dying or when I got into an accident on the last album. It's like, those are things that they're hard for me to really deal with unless I get them out in some creative way. So like writing has just been unequivocally the most important thing in my life in dealing with being a human and just everything that I go through.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do without creating. I don't know.
And how does it feel having your fans literally along for that ride with you? Because they're kind of like experience it and feeling it in their own ways, almost simultaneously with you as you're releasing this music, you know?
I mean, it's incredible. It's surreal. When I was like coming up in the scene and writing stuff when I was a kid, I never could have imagined that it would resonate with other people or that, you know, and hearing just the experiences that other people have had reading our lyrics or listening to our music, that's one of the greatest parts of being an artist, I think, because lyrics can mean one thing to me, music can mean one thing to me, but when we release it into the world, it doesn't really belong to us anymore. It belongs to other people. And I can explain things to a great degree, but I want people to have their own experiences, and hearing what they have to say makes it like more just a greater experience. I mean, it's incredible. It's hard to fathom, you know?
Yeah. And I guess, especially with things being as digital as they are, like touring's really when you get to see the fruits of your labor in that regard too. Because like you could get the comments. I don't know about you, but when I get comments online, it doesn't always register as like, that's a real person who's been super affected by what I do, or they are watching every episode. Like I see it and I have so much gratitude. But I think when someone comes up to me in person, it's kind of a different like, oh shit.
Oh yeah. Because I think it is easy. And I do that too. It's kind of like people almost exist as avatars on the internet. And I don't mean that, you know, I'm not trying to negate people as people, but Correct. It's like, you know, I have to see that sometimes for my own good through bad comments as well. You know, it's like, all right, this doesn't really matter. And yeah, I'll get messages and it does affect me. But watching someone like express that emotion in real life changes the whole dynamic of it. And it's beautiful and amazing. And yeah, it almost doesn't fully resonate until that happens. So, you know, people will be scared to come up to me or they'll be nervous to say these things to me, but I like love meeting people and I love hearing about how the things we've done have affected them because I'm a fan. Yes. I have lyrics that mean so much to me and I try to tell artists that I love, if I get the chance, how much their work has meant to me. And I think that's a great part of the experience, you know?
Yeah. We're all in this world for one reason or another because of the passion for it. Who was the last artist where you got to do that with?
Marissa Nadler.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Marissa Nadler is one of my favorite singers in the entire world. And I got to, I met her in real life, and it was very, like, I was nervous. But I have messaged her since then and told her, you know, how much everything means to me. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it just feels incredible to be able to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
incredible musician too.
Oh,
yeah, she's awesome.
She's incredible. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. And even like her music is so different from yours.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I love hearing that you're influenced by so many different genres. I wrote it down. Here we got groove, jazz, electronica, gothic rock.
Yeah.
So sick. I remember, was it Depeche Mode you mentioned on another interview?
Probably. Depeche Mode, Typo.
Yeah, Let's Go.
Yeah.
So what's the most obscure or like shocking thing I would find in a music library if I was to open it right now?
In mine?
Or like just off the
country music. I think people would be very surprised to know how much country music I listen to. Like, it's insane. Yeah, I listen to a shitload. I grew up, like, my dad listened to country a lot, and the storytelling in country music is fantastic. And every country song has just fantastic lyrics that make you feel a certain way. It's not all about like your dog or your girlfriend. You know, it deals with really deep things. Yeah. And I listen to a ton of like Jody Messina and Leanne Womack and Reba, of course, the Queens, the Judds. Like, I love country music a lot.
Yeah. So. I mean, there are, it's funny because you can really find parallels to your genre, like in any genre, like if you look for it. Absolutely. And storytelling's one of those for sure.
Yeah.
We have different preferences in country though, because I have a ticket to see John Party next month.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh. I'll link you up on
Please
that.
Do.
It's so embarrassing. It's more like pop country. It's
no, I like
silly,
that. Dude, I like Jelly Roll. I mean, I fucking love Jelly Roll, actually.
Anyone who doesn't, I don't trust them.
I agree with that. I am so down for pop country. I don't care at all. Carrie Underwood, like, I love all that stuff. But I live in Nashville too. So I feel like there a lot of people get kind of sick of pop country because that's what exists on Broadway. But for me, I'm like, I love that shit.
So is it rubbing off on you? Have you been in Nashville or like Tennessee for a long time?
3 years.
Okay.
Not very long, but.
So just enough to maybe own a cowboy hat though.
Yeah, I know. I did get one. I have a pink cowboy hat because someone bought it for me for my bachelorette party last year. That's the only one I have, though. I need some cowboy boots. I think that's my next move in life, my next big move.
I think you could rock them.
Thank you.
We can make this work.
Thank you. I agree.
Would they be black cowboy boots?
Absolutely. I only wear the color black.
That's true. I don't think I've seen you wear another color.
Don't do it. I accepted a while ago, like, if I have anything but black in my wardrobe, it's never going to get worn, so I shouldn't spend money on it. Simplify it. Everything matches. Precisely. That's, I'm saying everything always matches. I never have to worry about, all right, is this green matching this? Do I look like Christmas right now? You know. That's so true. I did almost end up in the red and green faux pas the other day, which would have been so bad. Yeah, dude. You can only do that in December and only if you're going to a Christmas party. Right? Correct. I think I'm going to take a note out of your page and ditch the red and the green, at least. Okay, I feel like I'm going to butcher the name because I'm uncultured. Kai Cenat. Is that it? I think so. I'm also uncultured. You think so? You were on his live stream. I think that was it. I'm old. I had no idea who he was before I got hit up to be on his stream. And full disclosure, I almost said no. Because it was so like non-discreet, the way that I was contacted about it, that I was like, this is fake. There's no way that this is his real booking person getting a hold of me. And I felt like I was being catfished, even to the point that when she asked me for my information to buy me a flight, I texted our manager and I was like, am I going to get like my bank account information stolen from me? And she's like, no, Chaney, it's actually like, you can give people your name and your birth date. Like, that's fully normal in booking a flight. You just never know what people could do with the smallest amount of information these days, though. And I'm scared. I get it. I'm scared. Yeah. So, yeah. So what was the moment where you, like, leaned into the trust? Or was there a point at any point before you got there where you realized it was legitimate? When I got on the flight. when my flight was real, I was like, okay, this is happening.
You got that far thinking it was fake.
Dude, yes.
Wow.
The night before when I was practicing, I was like, there's a good chance that I'm being catfished right now and that this is not happening. But
that's so funny.
So the flight, I was kind of like, okay, well, someone could still buy me a flight and it still be a catfish situation. But then I got to the hotel and that was legit. But it was just the way that they were dealing with it was so like new to me because it was so little contact, so little information about what was going on. I didn't even know where I was going until like a half an hour before I showed up.
Is it for security reasons, I imagine?
I would assume so. Because since then I've found out that like people will get addresses of Twitch streamers and like send the FBI there or you know, do weird things with that information.
Oh, God, yeah.
So yeah, I think it was a security situation, but yeah.
I mean, that's harrowing that you went for it. And what I thought was so exciting, even though I wasn't aware of Kai and like who he is, because I guess I'm old.
Yeah, we're old.
I don't know.
We're not of the young.
Demographic.
Well, we're not 17. I think that's it.
Yeah.
We're older than 17.
We are. And what I thought was cool about that is, when I realized the numbers on that and like the scale of it and how really you were the first metal vocalist to ever appear on that live stream, it made me realize how exciting it is to see the mainstream embracing more extreme or metal music.
Yeah.
And even like Drake professing his love for you, like that was crazy. What have those experiences taught you about like the mainstream's perception of your music or metal music in general and like our place in that?
Well, I think that it's taught me that actually the mainstream is far more open to metal than we may think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people get a little caught up in like people who are into metal get a little caught up in the mainstream thinking that we're like devil worshippers or all of this stuff or whatever they have to say, whatever their initial reaction is to these things. But I just am really surprised at how open people have been to like accepting metal into their lives after they get over the initial shock value of it. But you know, that's a part of why it pops off is because there's shock value, you know? So it's a good thing, I think. But yeah, I'm just surprised at how welcoming people are and how much people want to find out about this genre and how little they know about it.
Yeah.
Because so many people have never been exposed to heavy music in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Like, I think that I think he might have said something about maybe like System of a Down or something on his stream, which to me is
that's pop.
Yeah, that's pop. But you know, it's like I just think they haven't been exposed to it, so they're open to it. People who have not heard metal are open to it, and that's the surprising thing, that they want to be involved. They just haven't. You know, if I didn't have like my friend's big brother or like people introduce me to shows, would I ever have known about metal? So I was in that place when I was like 10. You know, we've all been there.
Yeah, and I think there's also something to be said about the fact that you were a willing participant in the live stream too, because like we need people in metal who are down to expose the music to the mainstream instead of gatekeeping.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like you were just down to go.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I've never found gatekeeping to be a great thing because you know, I've watched metal in my life since I started playing shows go from mainly being played at like VFWs and in church basements to now metal bands can headline. I saw Slaughter to Prevail at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. You know, it's like
crazy.
That wasn't a thing when I was a kid. So I've watched this kind of exposure do so much for metal and make it so that metal can make a sustainable living for metal musicians. And like, I've just never been down for gatekeeping because we all started somewhere and I want this genre to thrive. I want to be able to do this for the rest of my life. And the only way that we can all do that is if there's some money coming in somehow in the genre. And I know that, you know, people don't want to like admit that sometimes or accept that because they want it to stay underground. But it's like it being exposed to the mainstream is what can keep the underground going and what keeps getting people interested and invested in the genre and keeps bringing like better musicians in and more innovative people. And it's like, I just want that to be something that happens forever.
Yeah, and that's always been my argument too, is like if you want to see your favorite metal bands continue to be your favorite metal band, like they need fans. They need people coming to the shows, buying merch, like supporting monetarily.
1,000,000%. Do you know how many like amazing bands have had to call it quits because they were not making enough money to survive? Because people have to get real jobs. And, you know, you at a certain point, you do have to accept that, like, you have to be able to provide for yourself in some way to be like a human who exists and has a house and or, you know, has somewhere to live and food and all of that stuff is helped by metal becoming more and more mainstream.
Yeah. I mean, gatekeeping is not the heroic act that people think it is at all.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah. I'm really glad you pointed that out, though, because it's really important. So shout out to Kai.
Yeah. Shout out Kai. You know what?
Honestly.
Seriously, shout out to the girl who books his show, because when I walked out, I looked her in the eye. I left the thing I did and I looked her in the eyes and I was like, I know that this doesn't really mean that much to you, but you just did such a huge thing for metal. And I just want to thank you for doing this, because you put us on the map in a way that we don't always get to be put on. So thank you so fucking much for doing this. It's incredible.
It's huge. And I know maybe even had started as like a shock factor thing, because you do have such like wild vocals.
It's shocking.
And it was a plot twist, and it is shocking.
It is shocking. I mean, I remember seeing like, you know, Marilyn Manson on TV when I was a kid, and I was horrified. I was like, what? You know, that's a monster on TV. You know, I when I was 8. But the shock is what like intrigues people.
It pulls the right people in.
It really does.
Yeah.
So,
and a huge part of your stream as well, you gave a whole speech. And it was so amazing, because I even really felt that, because you essentially talked about how people may be trying to convince themselves that they love the thing that they don't love, that's holding them back from really pursuing their passion. I went through a moment as a personal trainer and was like, I do love this. I'm helping people. I'm so passionate. I was like dying inside.
Yeah.
And so I fully understood what you were saying there. And I know it's probably hit a lot of people who needed to hear that. And I just think about your journey of being a metal vocalist. What were the fears that you had prior to pursuing this? And what did you tell yourself as kind of the story to overcome?
You know, I don't know that there were fears, but there was a time when I moved to California to be with Naveen 14 years ago, where I stopped being a metal vocalist for a while. And I basically just convinced myself that I didn't want to play music. So I wouldn't go to metal shows because I was like, you know, I don't even want to deal with that emotion that I'm not doing what I want to do. And I tried to start a few bands, and they just kind of like, it wasn't great, the circumstances. And I went back to college and I was studying philosophy. And I over and over again tried to convince myself that that's what I loved doing, knowing deep down inside that I didn't really love it as much as I loved being a metal vocalist. So the fear was really, I guess, that I would get back into it and fail and waste years of my life pursuing this thing that maybe I'm not even that good at it. Maybe I'll never be in a band that anyone cares about. Maybe I'm just pouring time into something and wasting these years of my life. So there's the fear, I guess. How I got over it, you know, I think that really Naveen helped me get over it, because I tried out at the end of this time when I was still in college. I tried out for Veil of Maya. I put out a video. I always knew that if Veil or Born of Osiris needed a vocalist, I was going to try out for one of those two bands.
Which crazy that you're on tour with Born of Osiris right now. Then. That's wild.
Yeah, because those were like huge influences of mine, you know, starting back in the day, the Sumerian core world. So when Brandon left Veil of Maya, Naveen was like, happened to have the song Unbreakable because Sumerian asked him to do a remix of the song. So he had it without vocals. And I found out Brandon left Veil of Maya. We were 5 minutes from our house on the way to somewhere. And I was like, we need to go home right now and make a video of me doing this, because I need to at least attempt to be back in this and be a part of this band.
Wow.
So I put up that video, and it went like kind of viral back in the day. And I didn't get the part. It was between, me and a handful of other people, and Lucas is in Vale and is doing a fantastic job with them. But that, I think, inspired Naveen. It kind of got our wheels turning, like maybe we should do this together.
Yeah.
And so he kind of pulled me out of it. At first, I didn't want to start a band with him. I didn't want to. Naveen's a legend. He's been in Animosity, Animals as Leaders, The Faceless, Whitechapel, Job for a Cowboy, every band. He's a legend. Flesh Rot, one of my favorite bands of all time. So I didn't want to be like riding the coattails of my legendary boyfriend. And for some reason, I was letting my mind tell me that would be the case. But he convinced me to start Entheos, and that's really what pulled me out of it.
Wow. And thank goodness he did.
I know.
And you are a star in your own right.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you had a conversation with Born of Osiris, like, at all? I mean, now, obviously, Entheos, that was so long ago, about just like, I could have been in your band.
Well, no. I've known those guys forever. I'm just stoked No, because I don't care anymore.
Everything happens for a reason too.
Exactly.
Like, it all worked out exactly the way it was supposed to. Now it's just kind of a funny thing of like, you're on tour together. But
yeah.
Yeah, so wild. I actually didn't know that. I did all my research and that did not come up.
It's a lot to get through.
You do there's a lot of lore around you.
There is lore. It's true.
There is lore. And speaking of lore, I hear, well, I don't know, actually, that transition doesn't make sense. There's at all. I know that there's a new album already kind of in the works. Like, you've just released an EP not long ago. Like, the way you all are always working on music is amazing to me.
To me, it's psychotic.
I was trying to put a positive spin on it, saying
stop.
amazing.
It's like, Jesus, can these psychos stop making music?
You live and breathe it,
But yeah, we are writing a new album. Or actually, we're going to start tracking when we get home from this tour.
Wow.
So we've got 7 songs written. I'm so stoked about the material. There's more singing,
Great.
Which has always been what I've wanted to venture into. But yeah, it's the best stuff we've written, as I'm always going to say every time I talk to you about anything. I'm just so excited about it.
Yeah. Is there like going to be, because I know with the EP, for example, like, each song could be a standalone single, whereas like the album before actually had kind of a running concept. So for you with the next album, is it similar, like running concept or?
Standalone singles, but running concept as well. Yeah, it's hard for me to like bring together a piece like an album or an EP and not have all of the songs belong to each other in some way.
Yeah.
So the lyrical matter will all have to do with each other, but it doesn't run together as a full piece like Time Will Take Us All did.
Right. And more singing. Why more singing?
Because I love singing. And I finally think that our band is in a place where we're writing music that I want to sing over. And with just Naveen and I being the band, we're able to really, really hone in on that. And I want to sing a lot, and I enjoy that. I love expressing myself that way. And I just want to.
Your singing voice is as beautiful as your screaming voice.
Thank
so
you.
I know it'll be freaking awesome.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to mention? This will be out probably in March. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to shout out that's in the works for this year.
You know what? We will not have announced it yet, but I want to say it. We are doing our first headlining tour at the end of the year. Announcement is coming soon. Please, everyone, go to the tour, because it's very important for bands like headlining tours. It's very important, and we're really excited. We've been a band for 10 years, so I think it's about time to do it. And and look out for the new album and come and see us in Europe with Born of Osiris.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's about, like you said, about time for a headliner. Why does this feel like the right time?
We had some we call them routing shows in the business. They were just shows to get us to a tour last year where we were headlining. And I'm the type of person who I can plan a birthday party and I think no one's going to show up, So I was very nervous that no one would show up to any of those shows, but they were really, really good. And that gave us the courage, I think, to finally to decide this is the right time to do it.
Amazing.
So,
well,
yeah.
I'm so excited to see you flourishing, even
Thank
just
you.
from our first episode to now. Like the milestones have been huge.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited.
You too.
Thank you.
This is amazing.
I know we have a freaking studio.
I know the first episode was on FaceTime, and now you're too cool to do that. You only do in-person interviews. I love this. This is amazing.
You.
It's amazing to see where you've taken this podcast.
Thank you. And I really appreciate, and I want to shout out how supportive you've been through the whole time as well. Like we keep in touch a little bit here and there, and it means a lot, and it says a lot about who you are in this business, that you are as kind and supportive as you are. So I'm excited.
I just want to see everyone grow and flourish and live their best life. I think that's what it's all about.
And that energy comes back to you too.
That 1,000,000%.
Yeah. Well, excited to see what another 2 years brings. And
hell yeah, me too.
Everybody watching, thank you for being here and helping us thrive and flourish and grow.
You.
So stay tuned here on Knotfest every other week for She's with the Band, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, y'all.